Okay, welcome back to 2015. Let's get the director up here and the producer. Niels Thomas, please join us. Nice T-shirt. Nice.
I'm so happy you changed yours.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't want to compete with the master behind the work. Have a seat, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
So, speed walking. We have a slew of tweet feed questions coming in here. Let me just decide where to start. Oh, this one's easy. What's your favorite 70s song?
Wow, that's not easy. I've grown very fond of this one, the one that we play, and the old Nazareth hit we play in the start. But I think my favorite 70s song probably is the T-Rex song. What is it called? Cosmic Dancer. The one. Yeah.
Can you do it for us?
I was dancing when I was 12, and that way, more and more and more. Yeah.
Very nice. I just want to check something. I think I need to move.
Can you do like that? Okay.
This
all right.
feels a little bit like we need to bring it up closer to you.
Did they say that in your?
No,
right?
I don't have a thing. I'm just worried about it. And I'm not being able to do it. Actually, could I have someone come and do this, please? Just move the. Or if we do that.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. All right.
We'll do this.
Are we good?
Is that better?
Yeah, we're live. It's okay.
Else I can yell. I have a very loud voice.
Yeah,
I can very easily.
But
I don't know if I can yell to 40 centimeters.
Getting a little bit more directional. Okay. See, tonight with a movie that is lighthearted, we're getting lighthearted questions. So this is coming from Domingo Lopez. I guess maybe from Barcelona, just a guess. Was it usual in 70s Denmark to gift porno mags at funerals?
That's a great question. I never had that before. No, it was not usual at all, to my knowledge. I mean, I didn't go to any funerals in the 70s, luckily. But this film is based on a book that's based on a true story. A good friend of mine who wrote the story, and this detail is part of his memory about that day. And I don't think we would ever have written it had it not been real, because it's so far out. I mean, the character, the friend of the father, that was really the local bank manager in town. He was an interesting person because he had absolutely no sense of what situation he was in of proper behavior. But he kind of knew a little bit about what to say the right thing or do something, and so he tried to do it, but he didn't feel it at all. So I mean, I love that moment when he does that, because it's especially when he says that him and his wife has already used them, so they're more than welcome to keep them.
Worn.
Yeah. So, but I think that's a very good example of how far out that period in Denmark was, because pornographic material had been liberated in Denmark in 1969 as the first country, I think, in the whole world. And then in mid-70s, it had kind of washed out to the province and small towns and caused them to think that every psychological problem they had could be solved with sex and booze. Which, of course, you all know will get you pretty far out of the way.
It's
a lot cheaper than going to a psychologist, but...
Well, we have you on the couch, so
yeah.
Let's see,
I feel a little exposed.
Let's see if we can have a sort of Europe-wide therapy session with you. Actually, it ties into another question that's tucked away in here from Chana Bernard. Speed walking is a human comedy. Is this the new Danish cinema? Is comedy where we're going? Maybe I should ask Thomas.
Yeah, I think Thomas should answer that. I don't live in Denmark.
Because we're a long way from, the girl with the dragon tattoo here.
Really? Are we? Yeah, I mean, I'll answer that part. I like to do different films. I like to do something that's in one side of the cinema and then something that's completely... I don't like to do the same thing every time. But as far as where Danish films is right now, I think Thomas knows more about it.
That.
I have no idea if it's a new trend that we have started here, but I think it's normally a comedy is hard to get to travel between countries, but in this setting where it's when it's looking back at a life and in that way retrospective, I think it's a good way to take a serious subject and to still make it bearable to look at. I mean, it's quite tragic what happens in the film, but still you have a light feeling about it because of these comic elements to it.
But I also think that dark humor, if you could call it that, is very common in the provinces of Scandinavia. I mean, life can be pretty tough, and you know, you might say something that's kind of funny when you feel sad. I mean, it's a very known thing to laugh at something you should cry about. I mean, it's possibly not proper behavior, but then again, people in the 70s weren't that political correct, you know.
They weren't interested in proper
I think
behavior.
for me, speed walking is a drama with an absurd undertone. But I do think that when I think about my own childhood in the northern part of the country, where Morten's childhood that we filmed is in the southern part, but I think that absurdity was there and is there, and it was part of life. So in some ways, this film is more realistic than if you had done a social realistic drama. I mean, people are pretty crazy. You know?
Yeah, I think here in this room of the 40 cinemas, I'm just instinctively saying that the Dutch audience would be also connecting with something like this. Am I right?
Yeah,
it's not so unfamiliar.
I already got that feeling from being here. So yeah, I feel home here. That's good. But I mean, I think we all pretend to be civilized and normal, and then it's kind of like a thin layer of furnace that we have pulled down over ourselves to make society work, and then underneath that, we are, a chaos of different emotions and contradictions and all kind of stuff. And
grief is one of the things that pulls the trigger on the release of that. I mean, I made a note just here. It was just, grief and sex is this really strong thing within your story. Is that then I thought, is this something aside from the source material, which you can always turn to for as a safety net? Is this something you recognize yourself from your dealing with grief, or
sex and grief together? Well, I mean, you mean you can fuck sorrows away?
Yeah. Is that?
Well, I mean, it sounds nice to try. I mean, I'll say like, what did Groucho Marx say about sex? He says, it's come to stay. It's not going to go away.
It's not going to go away.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I would call it a distraction. I think that, but that's an interesting thing about, say you lose someone that's close to you and it's a loved one and all of that. You can't sit and cry all the time. I mean, you will shift. I think what happens to people in grief is that the mood will actually take bigger swings. It will go more up and down. As far as when you're normal, you're kind of like, trotting along your track. But then it would go, like when my father passed away, it was very sad, of course. And yet at the same time, we talked about all the crazy stuff he said and did. And he was a very eccentric character. So his funerals was people crying and people screaming, laughing. And I'm sure that's the way he felt it should be, being of Viking descent and all of that he was very proud of, claimed that his family had lived on that piece of land since the ice drew back. But he was a dramatic, and a liar and all of that. But a great guy.
Great liar.
And a drunk.
Yeah.
And do you want more? Because we're on the couch here.
No, we're good. We're getting there.
I can really go into details. We're stepping
quietly closer to it.
Yeah.
But just taking it away from that, there's a question here from Ljubljana. It's a real practical one, and I want Ljubljana to have their answer. From Mateja Babnik. She says, hi, my name, Mateja, Mateja, maybe a man, sorry. Hi, Mateja. What vinyl album did Martin get for the confirmation?
Love Hurts from Nazareth.
Love Hurts from Nazareth.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good with Here's another question, and it's possibly to do with producer as well. You had a lot of young cast, you know, not of legal age, if you like. It's from Jokimbot. How did the young actors in Speed Walking deal with the themes, especially Martin and Kim?
Well, I would say the casting process of this, of course, was one that I was a bit scared about, because I worked with young actors before, and in some ways this is like the third film in 3 of my films is about young people, and 2 of them are historical. But I thought this cast would by far be more difficult, because not only do you have to find somebody who has the talent, and we did, that's for sure. You also have to find somebody who has the courage. And so that, of course, was a very big issue. I worked 3 times, every time I've done a film with young people, with this caster called Jette Terman. She's kind of like a caster and my assistant director in some sense. We work very closely together, and she kind of vacuums the whole country for talent, and is a very big part of preparing them for what it is our intention is. And then, of course, we drew in the parents, and they read the script, and Thomas and Crystal, the other producer, talked a lot to the parents about that even though I seem insane, I'm a fairly good guy on the bottom. That's just very far down to the bottom. But I mean, and all of that, and of course we had a meeting with the parents, with several meetings with them, but one meeting particularly where I kind of laid out how I was going to shoot this, particularly what I was not going to shoot. But it also was a process where we stood very firm on that this will happen. I mean, you have to go through these scenes. There's no cutting around it. This is very serious work. There's a lot of people that's dependent on it. There's a lot of money involved. It's not a kid's game. It's a grown-up world. And I was also talking to the young actors about that if you want to be an actor, you want to go into this world, you will overstep a line, and you kind of cannot go back. And you overstep that line, you become an artist. And if you're an artist, then you can never be normal again. You can't go back. It's like eating the forbidden fruit.
So they were duly warned.
Yeah, well, I would say they were.
That's really, what was their response? I mean, they're kids. Well, and this idea of I mean, it's a beautiful idea, but...
I mean, I've worked a lot with 13, 14, 16, 17 years old actors, and I swear, if you work with them sincerely and explain to them the same way as I would work with a grown-up actor, they respond because they like if you take them serious, and I do. So that, but of course, it was very daring for them to do that. There's a couple of anecdotes. The first time they kind of had to, Jette wanted to do a rehearsal with them where they had to take their shirts off and kind of like dare to kiss on a rehearsal before we had actually hired them. And they were very shy. And then Jette is a 65-year-old hippie woman from Copenhagen. And then she said if they didn't take their shirts off, she would take her shirt off. And then they took their shirt off. So there are certain... Another anecdote that's very important in this is that it was very important for Thomas and Crystal and I to go show the film for the school classes that especially Villas goes to, so that they wouldn't get harassed or get bullied. That was one of our biggest concerns. And Sisse Babett Knudsen, who plays Lizzie, and who also, of course, is the Danish Prime Minister, the real Prime Minister in Borgen, she had then said, well, when you have to go all the way to Aalborg, which is 4 hours away, to show this film, I'll go with you. And people were like, yeah, right, you're going to have a whole day in your calendar. But off she went. And she kept her word. And when right before the kids were going to see the film, Villas turns to them and say, I just want to tell you that my character does something with another boy towards the end of the film. And I just want to say, that's not me, that's my character. And then they started walking out. And then Sisse Babett turned around. And then she said, I just also want to say that my character does something with the older brother towards the end of the film, and that's my character, that's not me. And that really...
And it's not the Prime Minister.
And that was great for the children. Yeah. So, yeah, sorry, long answer.
No, it's a great answer. And
Thomas was cut off, which is not the first time, it won't be the last either.
We each play our part. That's fine.
We do them well.
Thomas, let's bring you in on this. I'm going to fight with you to bring you in. Just quickly, with the material we've just been discussing, because again, it's being talked about. We had a tweet here from Sarajevo, from IFFR. You know, how do the boys, girls react to the filming of those scenes? So we've talked about that, but it's clearly an area of interest. When you came onto the project, or you initiated it together, I'm not sure how that relationship was set up, but you saw that there was a lot of interesting sexuality being explored in the story. What does that do to you as a producer? Does it give you great fear or great excitement to rise to the challenge?
No, in the hands of Nils, I'm never worried about how it will turn out on screen. I mean, I think we have more or less the same boundaries for what will be suitable for a film like this with this audience that we anticipated to have. So, of course, it's more like you have talked about already, that it becomes part of the casting process already, that you test the kids to see if they will be willing to do it, and quite soon you start talking to them directly about it, and not least to their parent. You bring in their parents a lot so that they know the intentions of the film and also what is expected from the kids. So it's more like practical things,
But I mean, of course, we had lengthy conversations about this, even when the story was developed, and both of us knew we wanted to shoot this in a delicate way, in good taste. I will actually reveal here on the couch that during the process and after we shot that scene, which in some ways, even when we shot it, and even though I knew we were going to shoot it and I was directing it, it was still controversial for me. I mean, when they're jerking each other off and kissing and stuff, and I was like, oh my God. And suddenly I thought, I wonder if I'm going to get kicked out of America for this. Like, are they going to do a Roman Polanski on me or something like that? Because they realized they're 14 years old, and this would be highly illegal in America. I could never shoot this in US.
Or you'd have to shoot it differently.
Well, you would have to shoot it with actors that were 18 that you tried to make look like 14.
Or in separate rooms, as they did with Mysterious Skin, Greg Araki's film. It was like, they just shot in different rooms. And made it look like everything. But here's a question coming in from Kino Nove Horizonti. Does the title in any way reflect Martin's rapid need to grow up? Is it a metaphor for Martin's busy summer?
That's a good question. I mean, I think that that speed walking, this town that Morten, who wrote the book, grew up in, was obsessed with speed walking in the mid-70s, and so that's it's actually it takes more room in the film than it does in the book. But it is a fact that one of the local women that worked in the grocery store was world champion in speed walking, and that the town had a slogan that was called "A town with speed in" or something like that, you know, and they were obsessed with this peculiar sport, and I thought that it was such a great, you know, level of the film that they do. I mean, when you have all these tragic things happen, and then at the same time you have something that is funny. I mean, you know, no matter how you twist and turn it. And it was very interesting to see, because we actually cut a version of the start of the film that was much more graphic, where you really didn't see them walk. And we screened that, and the audience did not dare to laugh of the porn magazines because the mom had just died. Then we did a more traditional showing where you see them walk, and the audience starts laughing there, and then they dare to laugh.
So it gives the permission for the other.
Because they have to have the permission to laugh of something that's about the mother that died, because it's so serious.
Sure.
So, but I think that for Martin's journey, the speed walking becomes very important, because even though the ending is bittersweet for him with Christina and Kim, it's still the speed walking in the end that says that destiny gave him a serious blow. And he goes, you know, and he gets through it. He's going to be okay.
He's going to be okay, yeah.
And I think, as older I get, I want hope in my films. You know, I'm tired of all the dark and bleak and darkness and all of that. Yeah, I apologize.
So you are the new.
I'm still on the couch.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just going to throw this one at you. It's from Martijn van Mechelen, and he says, "Can you do a speed walking demonstration for us?"
And the answer is very simple. Absolutely fucking no. But thank you for the question.
I was going to offer to do it with you.
Well, you're more than welcome
moving on.
to demonstrate. I will direct you in it and tell you what you're doing wrong, but you're going to have to go back and put the orange pants on it for
exactly.
it won't be real.
Yeah, that's going to take way too long. About the orange pants, can I just take a little interstitial moment? We want to gamify this trans sort of media, trans cinema experience of IFFR Live. So we're going to offer a prize tonight for the best tweet. You will get this fine set of sunglasses, whoever sends the best tweet, and a Tiger Clan t-shirt from Rotterdam Film Festival.
Wow, way to go.
Get the best, I mean, you know, the last one may qualify. It'll be in the top 3, I suspect. But you get the sunglasses and you get a Tiger t-shirt from Rotterdam. So keep the tweets coming in. Let me just scroll back here. Oh, I got a new one. This is from Yoazak. It's referring to another film. In Speed Walking, are we watching a Danish version of Boyhood? Is there a connection to that, you know, that time of life of boyhood? Did you?
That's tough for me to say because I actually have a screener in my bag of Boyhood from GTA in America, but I have not seen it yet. But Thomas has seen it, so possibly he can answer, right?
No. You have to answer that. I think they are very different films.
They're very different films.
And I mean, Boyhood is so much more than a 70s film, so it's not really a 70s film, I think.
There's sort of, I think maybe the question is coming from, there's a certain tone, a certain truth and intimacy that Boyhood, you know, achieves in this, and it's something that just pours out of Speed Walking. So perhaps that's where the question is coming from. It's about truth, intimacy of youth.
I will see it and answer.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get back to you on that one. We're heading towards the end. How faithful is the film or screenplay to the original novel? How much license did you take?
It's very faithful in my opinion. Also because the way the novel came about was that Morten, who wrote it, and we actually had a deal about when we just had recently met, we had a deal about trying to write a film together. And I had this, I was kind of circling the mid-70s because I did a film called The Dream, or We Shall Overcome in English, and it was going on in '69. And I just wanted to go back to similar time period and shoot something. Because there's something so fantastic about the 70s because people were so far off and everybody was wearing such ugly clothes and all of that. So I was starting to tell him about that I wanted to write something about, you know, a boy that was 14, 15 that loses his mother and he's left in this little town with his father and older brother. And Morten turned pale as I was talking. And then he said, have I been drunk or something? I said, what are you talking about? He says, you are telling me my own story. And then and that's one of the few times in my life that I actually shut up, which doesn't happen very often. And I told him, okay, I'll be quiet now, and then do tell me your own story. And he started telling me the story of speed walking. And then I said to him, you know, we're not going to write a film together. You're going to have to go home and write a book, because this has to stand as pure as you remember it. And Thomas and I discussed this, and Nordisk Film actually went in and supported Morten to write the book, which is highly unusual, with the purpose, of course, of putting out a book and then turning it into a film. So I think that the book came in a very filmic form, and I really love the book. So the screenplay is naturally very close to that.
So it was its genesis was a sort of hybrid of literature and film. The clock is ticking away, and we do have to wind up. But where were you in 1976? What were you doing?
Where was I?
Who were you kissing?
I was 15 years old, had hair down to here, driving a moped that was supposed to drive 30 kilometers an hour, that could drive 100 kilometers an hour. And I was chasing girls like a bat out of hell. And it was fun. And I was drunk from Thursday to Sunday. But I did pretty well in school anyhow, and working, chasing women, going to the bars, 15 years old.
Right.
And driving mopeds drunk and lived to tell about it. So,
but it became research. You didn't even know. You were
I guess you could say that. It felt very real at that time.
Yeah. I think the film feels very real. I mean, this was my sort of age zone as well in those years. So I was like, when I saw it, I was like, I'm from New Zealand, and this feels kind of very familiar. So
yeah.
That's universal.
I think that's a strong connection between Northern Denmark and New Zealand. But when I think back at the way we behaved, and also the way the grown-up behaved, and how they served alcohol. There was a local bar close in a little town, and they served absinthe,
right.
the French absinthe. I mean, so much that you didn't know your name when you were driving home. I mean, I can't, thinking about that today, all these people would go to jail. I mean, but that's how the 70s was. It was the roaring 70s, I
We
guess.
had to steal it from the liquor cabinet.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, we do have to wind up. Thank you for a terrific film. I was, literally transported back somehow. It felt very, very familiar. And I think...
Did you have a cut with Martin, with Villas? Do you have a video piece with
you weren't told? Okay.
With the actor?
We had a little video greeting from
We
Villas.
do?
Yeah.
That's great. Let's finish with that. Thank
Do
you
we have
so
time?
much.
Okay.
Yes, we're going to finish with that.
Let him speak for himself.
Hello, my name is Villas. I'm 15 years old and I play the main character, Martin, in the movie Speedwalking. I'd like to say sorry I couldn't be there. I would love to be there. I was just 13 years old when we were shooting the movie. Those 2 months where we were shooting the movie, it was the best 2 months in my life. While we were shooting the movie and afterwards, I realized that I want to become an actor. My biggest dream is it's my biggest dream. I realized that it's so very, very hard and difficult to become an actor. So I'll probably just end up as a lawyer or something. I don't know. I hope you enjoyed the movie.
That's fantastic.
Thank you so much.
So, Vilas, I hope you're watching out there online, and thank you for closing our Q&A and for the IFFR Live tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Excellent. And who gets
the winner of the glasses and the T-shirt will be announced tomorrow. we have a jury to decide.
What is the
we
best
have a jury
tweet?
to
What is the
decide.
best tweet?
Oh, wow. Oh, my God.
Fantastic. Thank you.